painting, it's like haunting when you're in the middle of it sometimes. But with sculpture, you sort of make a decision, and then you're really drawing with the saw. And it's just pure, pleasure. I was teaching myself how to paint by looking at tons of art historical paintings and copying them. And it was very kind of boring and a bit dumb. But looking back, it really informed my hand, I guess I would say. And then I got just completely sick of it, and I was about to lose my mind. It was so boring. So then I started to push into the sculpture. When I first saw the Baselitz carvings, I was just I really liked. They're fantastic, and they're so rough and raw and powerful. Then I realized this is wood carving can be done in an art context. It's something I grew up using chainsaws and so it was I was attracted to the material. So I did a bunch of sculptures with just axes, which was crazy. And then I started using saws and just kind of taught myself how to make carvings. And so I learned how to use the tools and the sort of tricks with the saw and things like that. When I'm making the sculptures, I'm taking blocks of wood that are basically rectangles, and then you have to think about, it's all about it has to hold together because all of my carvings are one piece of wood, and so you have to think it has to stand up and it has to hold together, and then so there's a lot of crossing and stuff like that, and you can play tricks with overlapping, crossing, and that weird, the arm thing doesn't really make sense, but that's a thing that was definitely informed from the sculpture. And also just the lines, the line of the shirt that's a chainsaw kind of cut. When you make the drawing and then you cut the lines first. And you only cut about I only cut about an inch just to get it going, because if you cut too deep you can't turn. And so the saw is pulling, so you get this nice. You can really, if you go fast, and you can really get a nice swoop going. And so I feel some of that the real swoopy stuff is definitely informed by the sculpture. The shadow on the figures is something that I developed or I started to add purely based on the sculpture, because when you have a sculpture under an overhead light, you really get these shadows that often in photography and things, because the light is coming from all over the place. So that kind of where the figures often have this false overhead light, and then if there's a light source somewhere else in the painting, I'll kind of add that a bit, but a lot of them have this kind of really kind of sculptural shadow that I think was informed by the carvings. with painting, you make you're constantly making decisions, and it's quite mentally taxing. I come in and kind of like I'll make the drawing, which takes maybe 5 minutes, and lately I'm trying to do it as loose as possible. And then with watercolor, it's less malleable, so you have to. I make the drawing, and then basically it's coloring in afterwards. So the I think in some ways the watercolor product is a bit more finessed, because it's like once the drawing's done, it's kind of done. But the oil painting can get a bit messier, but there's more kind of mental activity, because you have, first of all, you have a point where it gets too wet and you have to stop, and so it's like you kind of are racing the clock in a way. And then also there's a point where you don't want to, like, you want it to be just this right bit of tackiness. So you kind of have to like execute quite quickly. And then also you can just edit, like you can just cover a hole. You can basically erase so it's like haunting when you're in the middle of it sometimes. You're like thinking about it in the evenings and stuff. But with the sculpture, you just clean up, you like sweep up and you start again the next day. I make the drawing on the wood with a big graphite pencil. And then once the drawing's made, it's just practical for the rest of the day. And you get a good sweat, and it's like, you feel like you did something. And so that part of it is just pure like pleasure. It's a really like satisfying physical thing. And I always feel like good at the end of the day. So to be able to include that in your art for me is like a real luxury and a pleasure.